You are listening to the Prosperous Law Podcast. Learn how to reduce stress, have more time, and make more money. Come on in.
I'm Greg McCollum, and I built a 7-figure criminal defense law firm. I formed Prosperous Law to show criminal defense law firm owners who are desperate for success how to grow from under $200,000 to $1 million and beyond. Hi, Greg McCollum here with another edition of the Prosperous Law Podcast. As you know, this podcast is designed primarily for criminal defense lawyers and family court lawyers. A lot of the stuff that I talk about on here and other people will talk about on here also applies to other types of practices. But specifically, what I like to do is dial into criminal defense. And today I'd like to talk about fees, criminal defense fees, what you charge for your case and how you collect money. And one of the reasons I want to talk about that is because I've been in a lot of different groups, and I've been in a lot of different mastermind groups, and I've done a lot of coaching, and specifically lawyer coaching. And one of the things that happens is when I'm in a group of a bunch of, say, personal injury lawyers, and they're talking about conversion, which when you say conversion, what they're talking about is a potential client comes to you and you have some kind of interaction or conversation or whatever it is, and then how many of those people hire you. So if everybody that you talk to hires you, then your conversion rate is 100%. And interestingly, a lot of people say my conversion rate's 100%. If that's true, then there's some other things that need to be addressed, but that's a different topic. So with personal injury lawyers, because the fees are set and paid on the back end, it's just a percentage. It's like you go to a real estate agent, and even though that's changing, but the real estate commission is 6%. So it's a commodity. They're all the same. You go to a bank to get a mortgage, and the mortgage rate is a mortgage rate. You don't care. When you buy a house, you buy a piece of commercial property, it does not affect you who holds the paper, as they say. It doesn't affect you that you got the money from this bank or that bank. As a realtor, the realtors or the real estate agents, they're all different, but they all charge the same thing. You don't go to this one real estate agent and they charge more. So that's just set. Well, with personal injury lawyers, it's kind of the same thing. They all charge what they charge. They all charge a third. And so when I've been in the room with personal injury lawyers and they're talking about conversion rate, honestly, I was sitting there and listening to this, and they're talking about how much more money the personal injury lawyer or the law firm could make if they got their conversion rate from like 98% to 99%, or it might have been 97% to 98%. So as a criminal defense lawyer, a 90% conversion rate is insane. 90% conversion rate. You think about, if you've been practicing criminal law for a while, you think about all the people that have called you or talked to you and wanted to get you to help them on the case, and you think about, you just, whatever, say it's just a $5,000 case, you just spit out $5,000, and 99% of people wrote you a check. I mean, that's laughable, all right? So we track, in my law firm, Complete Legal Defense Team, we track conversion rate, and I think our goal is 20% conversion rate. So in other words, if we talk to 5 people call us, and or 5 people come in and meet with us, that we would convert 1 out of 5. Now, if that number seems low, it's because we do a lot of marketing, and that's something else I can get into just a little bit. If you have like a word of mouth practice where you do zero marketing. Think of it as you don't even have a sign. You're just sitting there, and people that know you call you. People that have know of you, people that you've helped before, they tell their friend to call you. That's what we call like a hard lead. That's somebody that's made up their mind before they pick up the phone. They've already done the research. They've already talked to people that they trust, and they've made up their mind that, okay, I'm going to hire Greg McCollum. Greg McCollum is the best. 3 people told me with my problem, call Greg McCollum. So that's a hard lead. So the conversion rate on my sheet, my weekly number sheet, the conversion rate goal is 20%. Now, really, in my head, it's more like 35 or 40%. But we don't hit 40%, but we are consistently over 30%. I think when I looked at the numbers just yesterday, conversion rate at Complete Legal Defense Team, I think it was 32%. So that's 1 out of 3. 1 out of 3 people contact us, and we charge them our fees, and they hire us. And our fees, I don't know if they're low or high. When I've talked to other people in the coaching businesses and people that study this and people that have taught me things have told me that at my law firm that we charge high fees. So I don't really have anything to compare it to. So do we charge high fees? I don't know. I don't think our fees are that high, honestly, for the work that we do. And our fees for DUI, our fees for domestic violence, our fees for just a summary court or magistrate's court level are a certain fee. And they're not outrageous, but they're not the lowest. And their fees are set. And that's what I want to talk to you about is a set fee schedule. And if you have a criminal defense law practice, you have a criminal defense law firm, do you have a set fee schedule? And by that I mean, is there a menu that you can look at? And at this stage, it's not a menu that the clients look at. It's not like you walk into the McDonald's and you look up and there's a cheeseburger costs this and this special costs that. What I'm talking about is it's not for the clients to look at. Now that's a different topic, but it's for you. It's for you. It's for people that work for you. Do you have a set fee schedule? And I think you probably don't. If you're listening to this podcast, I think you probably don't have a set fee schedule. I know that I didn't have one for years, and the only reason I got one is because somebody that I listened to, somebody that was a mentor, somebody that was smart, somebody that was trying to help me learn and grow my practice and my business and create a law firm and like a business. They told us you have to have a set fee schedule. I don't think it ever occurred to me before to have a set fee schedule. That was a completely foreign concept because I had been schooled in the legal profession, by lawyers who unfortunately don't really know anything about anything. They're just, this is the way you do it. So when you think about the concept of a fee schedule, you look at the criminal code and you go through the code and you look at all these crimes and all these offenses and all these statutes. And as lawyers, we're trained to look at everything specifically. And then you have levels of offenses, and then what things are called. Certainly in South Carolina, some of the crime descriptions, maybe 4 or 5 words. Like our embezzlement statute is called breach of trust with fraudulent intent. All right, so we get so specific and so mired down in it. So think about a fee schedule. So what would you charge for fraud? What would you charge for breach of trust with fraudulent intent? What would you charge for burglary? And then you get into this concept, well, every case is different. So you got burglary in the first degree, burglary in the second degree, violent, nonviolent, burglary in the third degree. And so then the penalties are so different. So third degree is, I think, 5 years. Second degree, violent, nonviolent, which has more to do with parole and other things, 15 years. Burglary in the first degree, 15 to life. So if you're looking at a fee schedule, you sit there and think, well, you can't do it. It's impossible. There's no way that you can set a fee based on the charge. And then, if you're like me, the experience that you've had is lawyers say, well, I've got to talk to you. Every case is different. There's no way I could set a fee because I don't know what's involved. And all of that is true. However, it's not true enough that it should stop you from setting a fee schedule. So, for example, realistically, even though you're staring at this piece of paper or this statute that says, well, this one you're facing 15 to life. Over here, you just charged with breaking in some kind of storage shed. That's 5 years. That's no big deal. There are a couple of things going on here. One is that you literally, as a lawyer, you have too much information. You have too much information in your head. And so that confuses you. And you think, well, I have to talk to somebody. I have to see what they're about. But the other thing that happens there is that as you're talking to somebody, you're not really listening to who they are. You're not really trying to understand them as a person. You're sitting there in your head trying to calculate the fees. And I've been in situations, because I've had a fee schedule now for years. I don't know how long I've had it. I probably had it for 8 years, and I'm probably on, my 10th or 15th version of it. So if your reaction is, that's crazy, you can't have a fee schedule, there's no way you can quantify this, then that's normal. I think that's the normal reaction. I think that if I went out and talked to a bunch of lawyers and said, do you have a set fee schedule? Then the couple of things would be, personal injury lawyers, yes, it's a contingency fee. Hourly rate lawyers, yeah, they charge an hourly rate. So it's not complicated for them. But then, and sometimes maybe with trusts and estates and wills and stuff like that, people have a set fee for writing a will. People have a set fee for setting up a trust. But for some reason, when you get to criminal law, this idea that you have a set fee schedule, it just seems like you can't do that. And I can just imagine myself going in and talking to a lawyer, going back, say, a long time ago, and talking to a lawyer and saying, what's your fee for so-and-so? And they say, well, I have to talk to them. I need to reach out to the prosecutor. Maybe I need to talk to the cop. I need to see how much work is involved, because what you're trying to do there is you're trying to get your arms around like the scope of work. So I don't want to charge too little. You're probably not worried about charging too much, but I don't want to charge too little because of the scope of the work and how long the case will take. So if your law firm, if your law practice works like this, somebody who something terrible happened to, somebody got arrested, or their kid got arrested, or something happened which has never happened before, or maybe it's happened before but it's still terrible. So they're going through all this trauma. They contact you, and then the person that works for you answers the phone, and they say, oh yeah, because a lot of times people say, how much do you charge for X? All right, how much do you charge for X? And there's no answer. You call a bunch of law firms, how much do you guys charge for felony DUI? No one's going to tell you on the phone. Nobody, and some of that's because they don't know. So what's that look like? So they call, they speak to your assistant, and they say, I'm looking for lawyers, I'm shopping around. How much do you charge for X? Well, we don't give out that kind of information over the phone. You'd have to come in, you need to come in and meet with us. Okay. Because this person just wants the answer. Okay. When can I come in? Well, hang on a minute. Let me put you on hold. Let me look at the calendar. Well, it looks like, Mr. Johnson is going to be in court, and he's got this, he's got that. So let's say it's Monday morning. This thing happened over the weekend. Now it's Monday morning, 8:30. They've called you. It looks like he can meet with you on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. Does that work? So they say yes. All right. So they expected an answer. If you're going to go buy a car or you're going to buy a hamburger, you don't have to wait until you get in there. You don't have to go test drive a car to find out how much it costs. You know all that ahead of time. Other industries are so much farther ahead. So that's the normal. If I'm going to get a coffee at Starbucks and I can order ahead on the app, I know how much it costs. And it seems stupid to even say that, but if you apply that back to legal fees, we're just this foggy, dark mystery. So now what happened with that person that called? One, they're desperate. They're in a total state of anxiety. They cannot relax until they at least know something. They need something like, what's this going to cost? Who can help me? I don't know where to turn. So they're in a state of anxiety. So now this happened on Saturday or Sunday. They waited till Monday. They called you. They heard you were good. You heard your lawyer was the guy to get. And so now this happens. And now what? Okay. For some people, that the fact that they got an appointment is enough. For some people, they could relax, but that's less and less. So what happens here is that when they looked around and looked online or whatever they did, talked to somebody, and they picked up the phone and they called you, they are ready to buy. They are ready to solve their problem. They want to get some kind of resolution. And so what you've done is you've delayed it. And think of it like this. You decided for whatever reason you want to buy a new car. So you call the dealership and you say, hey, I've been looking at this car and looking at that car. I'd like to come down there and have a look at them. Are you available this morning? And the car salesman says, well, this is going on, that's going on. I got court. I got a sales meeting. How about this? I'll meet you Wednesday at 3, and then you can look at the car. Well, what just happened? What are you going to do? You're probably either going to say, oh, yeah, and then by Wednesday at 3, you're not even interested anymore, so you're a no-show. So your client that's going to meet with you is a no-show, and you're frustrated because they're a no-show. And what I'm talking about here is they have to come in to talk to you to even find out what the fee is going to be. Now, I'm not advocating that you necessarily quote fees over the phone because you don't want to do that. But at the same time, from my experience, some of that just has to be done. As much as I don't like to do it, as much as I want somebody to come in and I want to talk to them about their experience and who they are and what they're looking for, a fee range is very helpful for people. It's also helpful for people that are talking to people on your behalf, your staff and things like that. So, can you set a fee schedule? Realistically, probably one day, our fees are probably on our on our website. At some point, this probably happens. It hasn't happened yet. I don't know anybody that's done it, but this is probably where we're headed. So what's the fee schedule look like? When I did it initially, it was easy because, okay, I'll just use today's prices. So we charge $5,000 for a DUI, or we charge $5,000 for domestic violence, or we charge $3,000 for a summary court charge, a magistrate's court charge, a city court charge, or we charge, say, $15,000 for a felony, or we charge $25,000 for what I call a major felony. So at one point, as a lawyer, I had gone through and set the fee schedule based on, the case level, because that's the natural starting point. You say we've got A through F felonies, A being the most serious, so we'll charge this much for that, and then if you get on down, it's like a E or F felony, we only charge $5,000 for that. But if it's an A or B felony, we need to charge $30,000 or whatever the number is. Ultimately, if you look at my fee schedule now, it's seven, I think it's 7 or 8 pages long, and it's alphabetical, and it has every crime listed the way people hear it on the phone. I'm charged with this, and the degrees and the subsequent offenses, I pretty much just did away with it. And because even if you look at drug cases, and we don't do a ton of drug cases anymore, interestingly, but if you look at drug cases, you go, well, this is, this level of weight, it's the second offense. Third offense is mandatory 25 years, but if it's heroin, it's not less than 25 or more than 40. You just get lost in that because that's too much detail for people. And realistically, ultimately, that's not going to apply anyway. If you don't have a case where somebody has died, in other words, if you represent somebody on a murder, or you represent somebody on a felony DUI with death, or you represent somebody or homicide by child abuse, or you represent somebody for anything that caused a death, that's just in a different category. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the run-of-the-mill misdemeanors and felonies. Because even if you have a shooting, attempted murder versus a murder, even if you have a felony DUI where somebody was injured but didn't die, those are a little more serious. But everything else really fits in a certain category. And one of the things that I did is because I was so resistant to having a set fee schedule, where if you got charged with, say, bank robbery, or you got charged with armed robbery, or you got charged with some kind of sexual assault, so my fee range was $25,000 to $75,000. And so everybody that was talking to potential clients and meeting with them, they didn't know the fee. They had to ask me. And so the reason that I had the range, honestly, if you be honest with yourself, is because I didn't want to charge too little. Because I wanted to sit down and talk to the client. I wanted to size them up. I wanted to see how difficult they were going to be. I want to see how important this was to them. I want to see, their means and their ability to pay, and I need to make that evaluation. And if we're honest with ourselves, that's what older lawyers, that's what they taught us, that's what everybody tells us. It's what, well, you don't want to undercharge, but you got to kind of feel people out, so you got to do this dance with them. So we don't do that dance anymore. If you call my law firm right now and you go, hey, this happened, I just want to get an idea of what you charge for that, then whoever you're talking to on the phone is going to tell you. And one of the things that I did with my, and this made a big difference, one of the things that I did with my fee schedule is instead of going from $25,000 to $75,000, when I looked at that, I said, well, we've only charged and collected $75,000 from 2 people on this charge. So out of 50 cases or 150 cases, 2 people were quoted and paid $75,000. Everybody else, there might have been one in there that was $40,000. Everybody else was paying $25,000 or $30,000, or maybe even less, because when you tell somebody the minimum fee is $25,000, lots of times that they hit on that. So if I look at that, the fee schedule is $25,000 to $75,000. A lot of times, we end up giving them the low end because we're sizing them up, and then they need to do a little better, so we say we're 20. So we're charging $20,000, $25,000, $30,000. More and more what I saw was we're really just charging $30,000. So when I revised it, and this is the 40th revision, crime specific in alphabetical order fee schedule, so then it turns into $30,000. So I just revised it. I go, we charge $30,000. There are a couple things in there. I said, we charge $50 for this, we charge $40 for that. What's the worst thing that happens? The worst thing that happens is you leave money on the table. The good thing that happens, though, is you probably convert a lot more cases. A lot more people now hire you because they know what the score is. They know what's going on. So, and this may be a totally foreign concept to you, or this may be something like, oh yeah, that's simple. I learned that 15 years ago. This is basic. This is 101. If that's the case, good. I think, though, that if you're hearing this for the first time, or you never heard this before, or you never even thought it, it's really kind of a revolutionary thing that will change the way you do business. If you listen to any coaches, you listen to any kind of mentors and people that talk about this, every business has to have a menu. And if you think about it, every business, every corporation, every business you deal with has a menu. When I go to the car wash, I've got a menu. There are 4 kinds of car washes, and they cost different amounts. When I go buy a hamburger at McDonald's, they have a menu. When I contact the Mercedes dealership, they have a menu. When I talk to the doctor because I'm going to have surgery, okay, that gets a little, hazy there, but this is the price, all right? They're price menus for everybody. People are expecting it. You're no different. If you start working on this now, and also understand it's going to be something that evolves over time, but having a set fee schedule will free you up. There will be so many times where somebody's talking about hiring you and they're talking to a staff member or something like that. They won't have to find you. They won't have to track you down. They won't have to interrupt you. The other thing is, if you're too expensive and if the person just doesn't have any money, it's better to go ahead and resolve that rather than you spending an hour and 15 minutes with them on Wednesday afternoon to answer their questions and find out that they're just not financially qualified, or it's just not that important to them. So something to think about: set fee schedule in a criminal defense law firm. It will make things better. It will allow you to make more money. And it won't be perfect, and there may be a time or two you leave some money on the table, but all the times that people end up hiring you will make up for it. So something to think about: set fee schedule. Thank you for listening. Greg McCollum here, Prosperate Law Podcast. If you want to know more, go to prosperateLaw.com. We show criminal defense law firm owners how to reduce stress, have more free time, and make more money. Thanks for listening.